Tears, hurt, and anger were some of the emotions expressed at the post-mortem examination of the murdered cousins Joel and Isaiah Henry. The post-mortem examination was conducted this morning by Dr. Niall Singh at the Memorial Gardens Funeral Home in the Le Repentir Cemetery. It was there the revelation of how the teens met their dreadful demise was revealed. Attorney-at-law Nigel Hughes was a witness on behalf of the family, and he said Joel had 18 wounds and his neck was severed.
What we suspect is the fatal wound was severed his spine from the back. He had several head injuries. He had about 7 or 8 what we would call wounds or chops to his head. And the pathologist suspected that after he got those wounds, he fell to the ground and was on the ground when that wound that severed his spine between the first and second vertebrae was inflicted. That's in the case of Joel Henry. He also, there's evidence that he bit his tongue, and Joel Henry has several defensive wounds in his hands. With chops. He's got several incised wounds that clearly came from a sharp instrument. So he had about 4 or 5 wounds in his hand, on both hands, so he had defensive wounds. Then the injuries to the head, fell on the ground, got a chop that severed his neck. And if I can just give you the particulars on that, it was pretty nasty. His own was 14 inches by 3 by 6 inches deep. So the wound that the one that severed his spine, was 14 inches long, 3 inches wide. Well, it ended up being 3 inches wide and 6 inches deep.
Isaiah's spine was also severed.
And in his case, his vertebrae was severed between his spine was severed between the second and third vertebrae. And the measurements of his wounds were 14 inches by 4 and 6 inches in depth. So in both of their cases, both of these young men had their spines severed very, very high up between the second and third vertebrae. There were no defensive wounds on the hands of Isaiah, which would tend to suggest that what happened is that the amount of chops that he got to his head, he would have fallen on the ground, and while he was on the ground, that wound that severed his spine would have been inflicted. Post-mortem is finished. What we have done is we have taken both video footage and still footage, which we are going to be sharing with pathologists in Canada and internationally, and hope that as a result of the images that we share, that they may be able to either confirm or add their interpretation of what happened. The doctors suspected that they would have died somewhere between 36 hours prior to the time they were found.
The 2 cousins were found dead in the back dam at Cotton Tree, West Coast, Berbice on Sunday. Joel's brother was there to witness the post-mortem examination, and he described the murder as gruesome.
The man, well, with me brother now, the man was sit down from back. Yes, right? The man was sit down from back, and the man chop her in the head and them thing. And then with me cousin now, there's 3/4 of this man's neck cut out body, just this, and then the man savagely like X up his head and them thing, chop you up in the head and them thing, you see? Yeah, real sad.
What do you want to think about?
Well, with this, we ain't taking this at all, we ain't taking this. Me rather than man take me and left me body like live his life, you see? Yeah.
Isaiah's father used the opportunity to call for justice.
But this murder incident that happened, I believe in God that this is the time, this is the murder that will solve all the case, because a lot of people die in there. A lot of people die in there, and there's a lot of unsolved death in there. And I want to say, if it is going on media, I am not a racial person. I born in number 3. The community I live in, I live among Indian people. We eat together, we sleep together, we live together. The majority of my friends that I move with is Indian friends. We move with brother, big man, the older man than me. Yes, and because of why I was moving with them, they give me a nickname. And that nickname is Jira. And the meaning of Jira, what they come up with, is because Jira have to go in the dal. See, that means the only black one that is living among they call me Jira. And this same son of mine, the majority of his friends is Indian. This same area where he get killed, he know people in this he is a person that dwelled in the place there. And he get the same Indian friends. And they call him nickname Black Boy too.
The police have so far detained 7 persons as the investigations continue.